Welcome to the Solemn Vanguard channel. Today we are doing a bit of a questions and answers type video. Now the thing is, usually people do them like at 5k subs, 10k subs, 20k subs, 200 million, whatever. I honestly can't keep up with all that, so this is my 18,300 whatever number sub Q&A. Yeah. Enjoy. So we got these questions from Twitter. If you don't follow me there yet, be sure to do so. That's probably the easiest way to reach me. Like if you need questions answered, that's probably going to be the quickest, easiest way. It's @MaximSolemn. I'll put it up somewhere here. So Sean Waterman asks, when will we be hearing some new music by you? Very soon, actually. I've been working on something pretty cool. That's all you're getting right now, but I have no idea how I'll be doing it. I kind of want to do a music video. I'll figure it out as we go. Ruger Funk asks, how old were you when you opened Solemn Tones, which is my company if you don't know, and what was your inspiration? So Solemn Tones, I think it was in 2017. I think I was 20 or 21 or 19. I don't know, somewhere around that age. I produced music for myself, and playing guitar and stuff like that just takes a long time. Yeah, if you don't know, I'm pretty into like metal and all that stuff. Oh, this one is really pretty. I'm a big fan of Xyphosis. But so yeah, I made that kind of music, and essentially when I look at pop and rap and the way they produce music, it is so much more efficient. If they have an idea, they can just boot up their laptop and get going. And for metal and rock and all those kinds of genres, that's just not the case. So I figured, how about we try and do what rap and pop artists do, and we basically replace all of the instruments that are used in metal and rock and make samplers for them. And so right now, my music is 100% just Solemn Tones samplers. Guitars, fake. Bass, fake. Drums, fake. I mean, they're still really recorded samples, but they're still like our software rather than me playing everything in. I can play it, but it's just so much less efficient and usually doesn't even sound as good as the samplers. Unless of course you want to do some intricate lead stuff and so forth. Let's not get into too much music stuff here. It's still a Vanguard channel after all. But yeah, that was the inspiration, and so I think it's been 3 years so far. Side the Legend, can you do a Pale Moon premium deck profile? I was thinking how big brain you can be with the deck, as there is so many plays you can make with the deck. Pretty please. So I actually started making a premium Pale Moon deck with Harry a long time ago, and essentially Perytons and Trapezists were so hard to find that I gave up and just didn't bother anymore. So recently I actually picked up 3 Peryton and 2 Trapezists from a friend, so now I'm a bit closer, and so I'm trying to figure it out, and I'll probably have a premium Pale Moon deck sometime in the future. The Vanguardian, is there any progress or update with your music? Would love to hear more and see where you've been progressing in that. So again, that'll be soon. Here's another clip. That's all. Yeah, it's been pretty cool, but we'll see where we get. Tetsu-chan Stan, can you send me your bank account details? Oh, to send me money? Of course. Ezel Senpai asks, I have a few questions. When will the next Zero Damage playmat be released? I think March. What is your favorite large balls moment? I think the premium collection, like, first reveals, because large balls essentially for me is a character that only pops up when I'm extremely hyped. So people were asking, oh, why isn't there large balls for the ban list? And the thing is, I just wasn't all that hyped to see the ban list. When there's like a new VR from some set, I'm usually just not that hyped. However, when premium collection stuff is shown, or the world stuff, I was hyped. So that's when large balls breaks free from his shackles. What about making zero damage zip up hoodies with zero damage on the sleeves? That's a really smart idea, and I may have to steal that. Deo, what's your max bench? My highest 1 rep max has been 245 pounds or 110 kilos, but it's been a while since I've actually tried and pushed that. I really wanted to go to 120 kilos by the time I got back from Japan, but then as I got back I got sick, not corona, I hope. I haven't really been pushing as hard. I'll start going again next week, and then I'll hopefully get to push that higher. Darcy at WCC, weirdest experience in Japan. God, that's pretty hard. We've had quite some weird stuff, like I did this premium locals in Japan and one with DI because I forgot to bring Ezel. And then I had to take a picture with like a wrestling belt. That was pretty cool. I don't know if that's the weirdest one though. I also had food poisoning at one point. That was pretty weird. Hated every second of it. I'm never eating curry again. There's quite some. It was really insane. Shkuab, what is the best food you have ever eaten and recommend? I would say Sol, which is like this kind of fish. In Dutch it's called zeetong. It's very, it's the best fish out there. It's a real bitch to eat because you have to like get rid of all the, it's not bones, what's it called? Basically there's a lot of those little pieces of shit in that you have to get out, but once those are out, best thing ever. Yo teen, got a waifu. My girlfriend's my waifu. My stay re, what is your favorite Pokemon? So it has always been Gyarados in my low deck, but recently I've been really into Toxtricity. Like when I saw that guy rocking out, such an epic Pokemon. So yeah, right now Toxtricity. Cardfight Boomer, how do you feel about the community of content creators and how it compares to other games and hobbies? You know, it's pretty easy to be in this the grass is always greener on the other side kind of mentality, you know? But ever since I got onto Twitter and I saw what the MTG community is like on Twitter, I'm like hella happy with Vanguard. Jesus Christ. Not the top ones, you know, Patrick Chapin or maybe a Brian Kibler. And even then, like, there's so much politics going on, all this garbage, and I'm just, I don't even want to talk about it. Like, fuck. Once I started following MTG people, I'm the happiest I've ever been in the Vanguard community. That's all I'm gonna say. Even though, again, I'm a huge fan of Brian Kibler, Patrick Chapin, and some of these top players. Grump Muffin, do you believe Bushiroad has a bias to standard format and doesn't really care about the health of premium format? There is a bias towards standard because that makes them more money. Because, you know, a premium player, technically your deck stays good for way longer. If you bought Luard 1 year ago, 2 years ago, if you bought Luard 2 years ago, you've had a viable deck for 2 fucking years. If you bought NLK a year ago, you've had a viable deck for a whole ass year. If you bought Ange 2 years ago, you've had a viable deck for, well, until she got banned, and so forth. You see, there's decks staying good for so long, and with minimal updates, they stay relevant, which is something that is bad for their pockets. Whereas standard, it's just like, here's your deck, 2 months later, buy a new one, sucker. So obviously, there's gonna be some kind of bias towards standard because that's what makes them more money. However, not caring about the health of blah blah blah, no. In the end, in my opinion, if you want to be a viable game, as a trading card game, you need some form of eternal format stimulation. Yu-Gi-Oh has that because the format's always eternal. The base format is eternal. MTG has that in so many forms, like you have your Legacy Vintage, which are not supported that well, then you had Modern, and then eventually you had Pioneer, which aren't eternal, but they're actually supporting for a long ass time, like your old cards matter, and that makes it so people who want to quit don't really feel like quitting because they have so much invested, whereas if you make it so you just have to buy new cards all the time and everything from before that becomes garbage, that's not really a great stimulus. Then it's much easier to quit a card game if you know, well, it doesn't matter if I quit now or later because my cards are gonna like phase out anyway, you know. The only reason Pokemon gets away with this, and even they have expanded technically, is because they have all these kids just watching these very dumb unboxings. But if that wasn't the case, Pokemon wouldn't really thrive as well either, I would say. And again, they do have expanded. Whoa. So Nova Grappler, do you think it's cool? It's alright. I don't really have a thing for the robots. If you do, cool. It's just not really my style. Kelsey Tate Williams, what was your favorite meta of the game? Break Ride, Legion, Stride, and so forth. So Break Ride, in my opinion, was awful. Now, for the time, it was great. Like, you played with your very, very basic ass simple cards. Everything was RNG as hell. It was just awful, and the only reason some people won more than others was because the large majority of people sucked ass. We've seen this with other kinds of reboot style games like WoW Classic as well, where people were like, whoa, back then it was so much harder. No, it wasn't. Everyone just sucked. That's the same with Break Ride, you know. If you had to play Break Ride right now, you would hate it. Well, I hope you would hate it, because it's just that simple and bare bones and like, So for the time, great. Right now, no. Legion, same shit. Even early Stride right now feels so bad compared to like premium. If you're used to the more complex interactions and all that stuff, and then you would have to go back to like, I don't know, Lambros Revenger Abyss meta, that doesn't feel all that interesting. Now I will say mid-G and late G still feels pretty interesting, I would say. I kind of feel like Standard currently feels like very early Stride era as far as interaction goes. Like we're seeing the first kind of interactions in decks like Vanquisher, I would say. which is a good thing. But so yeah, Break Rider Legion, no way. End of Stride, pretty cool. Standard early, very shit. Standard right now, getting slightly better. Overall, I think Premium has, for me, been the best because it has the most lines of plays and interactions and all that stuff, but that's just me. Now, if I really have to specify, I would think the best meta was when Premium first came out, when you had like this Spike Brothers, Ange, Ichi, Tom, Graham, Blue type meta. That was pretty fun, but I really actually like it currently as well. Card, Sodium, Cyanide. What are the best and worst main boss units in VG in your opinion before Stride Era, and Vera? That's really hard to say. Like what, best, most bonkers? I'd say in Legion, like Revenger Abyss. God, that's so hard because you can't just say, oh, you have Stride and this whole era of Stride is one era. That's just not true. Like Stride Era has had amazing formats. Stride Era has had awful formats. And so you really can't judge this entire block. Like if you're saying best as in strongest, then obviously it's just gonna be the last ones because every era creeps itself out in some way. But yeah, it's really hard to say. If I had to just choose an opinion, I would say Revenger Abyss, Tavas / Night Rose, and then right now Isabel Kokaidas, something like that. But again, it's really hard to answer that question. Gross the case, next possibly VR for future sets in first half of 2020. I would say we're just gonna get all the G stuff. Like they've been milking that nostalgia cow, that nostalgia udder so damn hard with V so far, with Blaster Blade and Overlord. Wow! And so now they're gonna do that for Tri 3 and all the G stuff. That's basically what they're doing. I expect the Susanos, the Night Roses, the Harrys, all those cards I can just see coming back. What country would you like to visit in Europe? I suppose one of the more Nordic things, you know, maybe in Norway, something like that, but I would really like to see some Norse type stuff. Can Brandon de Grijze lift more than you? Maybe with his legs, but bench and anything else? No way. I destroy him on upper body, but I'm pretty sure his legs are like stronger than mine. What metal albums are you listening to right now? What is the good shit? I would say As I Lay Dying, their latest album, Shade by Fire. It's really good. I've also been really liking Falling in Reverse stuff, like Popular Monster, Motionless in White, Another Life, been really good. Technically, I don't really listen to like the older metal, you know, I more listen to like the core genres and everything there. Ryu Say, your in-depth thoughts on the premium format post-ban list and what to expect. That's pretty hard to say, you know, like in-depth thoughts. We'll have to see testing, we'll have to see the season. I think it's really unhealthy to just assume that because only Ezel was hit, it'll just be the next two in line. Formats in Premium are more complex than that, and so it's very possible that since Ezel was so warping, certain decks that couldn't shine previously, that can beat everything but Ezel, could suddenly now be good, but just got completely blown out by Ezel back then. So we'll see. It's really hard to say. And obviously, if there was some insanely strong spice, then I would just keep that for myself for the Springfest season. What is your favorite dish? Again, zeetong or sole, this kind of fish, really hard to match that. I also really like tiramisu. I think that's Italian. Not sure, but it's hard to explain. Just Google tiramisu if you don't know it. What is one quality every player should possess? Being able to see or try to figure out when a loss was luck and when it wasn't. It's really easy to say, oh, I got sacked, when in actuality a mistake from 2 turns ago made you lose. But on the other hand, it's also really valuable to be able to know this was actually luck. You could be looking for a mistake you made for hours when it just wasn't a mistake. So on the one hand, you don't want to believe that every single loss is your fault, because first of all, you'll feel real bad, but secondly, you're gonna waste a lot of time trying to figure out what did I do wrong, when in actuality, you may have gotten sacked. On the other hand, you don't want to think every loss is sack, because then you'll never ever improve. In all likelihood, you're never a perfect player, and so keeping on learning is great, but on the other hand, it's really pointless to keep thinking like, oh wow, this guy won, therefore he was the most skilled in the whole room, because that's just not true. We're still a card game. On the other hand, if you have been playing for 4 years and have never ever topped a single event while attending them, it's very likely you're doing something wrong. So finding that balance, I think, is the most important quality that I don't think many people have at all, in all honesty. What would be your top 3 favorite units? So I'm gonna say skill-wise, because If we're talking about art, Duckbill, Night Rose, there's so many cool arts. I've actually made a video about what the coolest arts are in my opinion already. So skill-wise, I think on number 1 has to be Greed Shade by far. That card, I could talk about this card forever, but it's essentially Snapcaster Mage. If you play MTG, you know what I'm talking about. Greed Shade is just, there's so many options this card opens up. And the only reason that isn't obvious yet is because all of Grand Blue standard cards suck ass. But the second Grand Blue gets really good cards, Greed Shade is gonna become really insane. Especially given order cards. Like once there are generic order cards that are really strong, and then you have this random unit that just lets you add them back. Watch out, Greed Shade, that's my favorite unit. I don't think there are 2 units that get even close. Nothing really touches Greed Shade, and I hope that they don't just like creep him out. Like if, sure, the only way I can see myself cut Greed Shade from any deck is if they make a Greed Shade that doesn't make me discard or something crazy like that, and that would be very lame. I hope they stay like fresh and creative in their card design, but we'll see. Do you like turtles? Yeah, I mean, some of them are really cute, some of them are really nice looking, so I sure like turtles. Cold Klaus, do you have any rituals/habits before important Vanguard events? I think most importantly is that I don't take food risks before an event. If you've traveled with me before, like Chris can definitely attest to this, my stomach isn't used to like exotic types of food. Then again, like, you know, I had food poisoning because of curry, stuff like that. I can't take insane amounts of weird ass food because it will just mess me up in every way imaginable. So I make sure the day before an event, I only eat stuff of which I know, okay, I can take this, I will have no issues whatsoever. And then after the event, if I'm like in a cool place like Japan or like in America, then I'll go crazy and eat all types of weird shit that can then fuck me up, just like the curry did. In general, it's just mostly watching food. I don't think there's a really big ritual. I do like to blast metal like before last London BCS, for example. I had a 5-minute walk to the venue and I just blasted my so many cool songs, because you know it's very energetic, aggressive. It's it really gets that vibe going, makes me want to win. That helps for me, but I don't know if that's something that's universal. What do you think about the New Gear Chronicle cards? I think the Chronofang stuff is mostly very boring. Like there's quite a few things that do interesting things in premium or even in standard in the early game, like for example the grade 2 that adds drives. Like that's a cool card to me. There's quite some things you can do with that, but most has just been pretty bland in my opinion. I'm hoping for more. I'm sure the next stage will add some really cool things. We'll see about that. Finally, Rainer Moreno, what do you think is going to come out from each support for the future clans in this project schedule? So let's go over that. So premium collection, all 24 clans, you know, they all get support. Who knows what we'll see. The MLB deck, we already know that. So then the booster pack, Oracle Think Tank, I think Susanoo stuff, Kagero, I think Blade Master Titan maybe, Dimension Police, maybe Grand Gallop. I thought Different Fight disagreed with that, but I don't know, I'm not a DP main, maybe there's some stuff going on that's very obvious to DP mains, but I think it's gonna be Gallop, don't know. Link Joker, assuming that we see more of the Ibuki stuff, probably some type of Messiah again. Then August Murakumo, wow. I literally forgot what the G-Boss unit was for Mura. Yeah, I've never played Mura apart from in standard V-Series because then it was busted. So yeah, I don't really know. Pale Moon, Harry, I think. Dark Irregulars, probably Sharad, and then Grand Blue. Grand Blue, probably Night Rose. So those were all the questions. Thank you so much for asking them. I hope this was somewhat interesting to you. If it was, be sure to subscribe to this channel. Like the video because YouTube cares about that, and I will see you soon. Ciao.